Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome to my channel where I make your life easier, one video at a time. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to handle living with roommates, specifically in college because I experienced living with roommates for the first time in college. I lived in the double apartments where I shared a bedroom with someone, and I lived with 5 other guys, and I lived in the single apartment where I had my own room and I lived with 3 other guys. I'm going to teach you how to handle certain situations and just have a better experience. With all that being said, let's get started. The first tip to living with roommates in college is do not ignore them even if you're upset with them. Say there was a conflict or whatever it was, don't ignore them because you are going to need them. I remember having lunch with someone who lives on the same floor as me, and he told me that him and one of his roommates don't talk at all. They literally will walk by each other and not say a word. They'll look at each other, but they'll just simply ignore each other. And that's not right. And the reason why I say that you are going to need them is because say you forget your keys, so you can't get into your dorm. And what's going to happen is that one roommate that you've been ignoring, you're going to ask them for help. You're going to ask them to open the door for you because you forgot your key. There will be times where you will need your roommate, whether it's them opening the door for you, whether you need a ride, or you just need advice. You don't want to be that person who purposely ignores someone, yet you have to ask that person for help. So the first tip is do not ignore your roommates because you are going to need them. My advice to you is just keep it civil. You're living with these people. You can at least smile and say, hi, how are you? You don't gotta be all buddy-buddy, but just, hey, how are you? All right, I'll catch you later. That's all you gotta do. The second tip is to remember that these students are grown. And if you tell them to clean up after themselves and they still don't, what can you do? You don't want to be that roommate who continuously bugs someone and tells them to clean up after themselves if they're not going to do it. If you see that a roommate is choosing not to clean up after themselves, you can tell them. You can tell them, hey, we're trying our best to keep this place clean. Let's make it a group effort and do our best to keep this place clean. If you've told them to clean up after themselves and they still don't do it, there's nothing you can do. The best thing that you can do is clean up after them because you don't want your house to get smelly. For example, if a roommate leaves a stain on the kitchen floor and you give your roommate 3 days to 4 days to see if they clean it up and they don't do it, the best thing that you can do is just clean it up for them because at the end of the day, that is your apartment and you don't want it to turn into a pigsty. And because your roommate chooses not to clean up after themselves, that isn't a reason for you to be upset with them or a reason for you to not like them. It's just a habit that it just doesn't come naturally to them. So now you know how your parents or your mother feels when they have to clean up after you because you chose not to do it. It's the same thing with living with roommates who don't clean up after themselves. The third tip is to know what you're getting yourself into. If you are going to stay in an apartment where there are going to be 3 to 4 other persons, you can't expect it to be perfect. There are pros and cons to living with people. If you don't want to deal with other people living in your home, then get an apartment on your own. But for a college student, we all know that that is very expensive. So make the best out of living with roommates because remember, you and your roommates are not perfect. The fourth tip to living with roommates in college is after you have finished evaluating each roommate and pointing out their flaws and seeing what they're not doing to keep the place clean, you need to check yourself. You want that person to wash their dishes after use. Are you doing that? A question you want to ask yourself before you confront your roommates is, am I doing everything that I want my roommates to do? Am I vacuuming the crumbs that I left on the floor? Am I washing the windows? Am I taking out the trash? You should always self-reflect before you start telling your roommates what they're doing wrong. The fifth tip to handling roommates in college is you don't have to be their best friend, but treat them like your relative. And you should treat them like your relatives because you're living with them for a semester, sometimes a year. Thus, if you want to have a good college dorm experience, I recommend supporting your roommates, being there for them, having an open door where they can come to you and ask you questions and ask for your advice. I think this is really beneficial to having a healthy relationship with your roommates, and trust me, it can be a lot of fun. It's great to have someone you can talk to and someone you can trust, and you can even have fun because if you are cool with your roommates, you guys or girls will plan trips together. You all can go to the beach, you all can go to the movie theaters. You all can just experience life together. I remember my first semester living in the university apartments, and after being with my roommates for so long and hanging out with them all the time, I started to call them my brothers, and when it was time for all of us to depart, I literally cried because I felt like I was leaving my relatives forever. If you treat your roommates like they are your relatives, you are going to form a tighter bond and you are going to create a better living atmosphere, a healthier one. So I recommend that you do so. And come on, especially if you're a lonely child, who wouldn't dream of having sisters and brothers and relatives? So make the best out of your living situation by just treating each other like family, because at the end of the day, you need each other. The final tip is don't make confronting your roommates a habit, but if you see that a roommate is using something of yours without permission and you see that it is affecting you, then it is okay for you to confront them. But if you're going to confront them, please make sure to keep it calm, cool, and collective, because you don't want to confront a roommate in anger. If you are the roommate who is using other roommates' stuff without their permission, you have to keep in mind that they work hard for the stuff that they buy, and for you to just use it until it's almost gone, you're gonna expect some type of confrontation. But if you have no choice and you decide to use someone's stuff, that's okay. You can always pay them back. For example, I ran out of toilet paper and one of my roommates gave me one of their rolls, and as soon as I bought more toilet paper, I gave them a roll. You can use their stuff because some roommates do like to share, as long as you are not taking advantage of them and as long as you pay them back, then you're all good. And that is it. Thank you all so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to like it. And please make sure to like it because it'll place this video in your liked videos playlist. And if you forget these tips, you can always go back to your liked videos playlist and review. Please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for future helpful videos. And until next time, see y'all later.